General Hospital spoilers tease that Laura Wright, the veteran actress of General Hospital and a familiar face to viewers through her role as the strong-willed and dynamic Carly Spencer, recently stunned the fan community by unexpectedly revealing a special trip she is about to take in real life. This is not just a simple vacation or a short getaway like the ones she has shared before. This trip carries a much greater significance. It marks a profound shift in the actress's personal schedule. And more importantly, it signals her temporary absence from the General Hospital set. This news not only shocked fans but immediately became the center of attention. As it represents more than just an actor's personal decision, it promises significant consequences, particularly regarding the current intense and thrilling storyline surrounding Carly Spencer's character. As one of the central characters, Carly plays a pivotal role in nearly all major developments on General Hospital. Her presence serves as the anchor for many key plotlines. From her complex relationship with Sonny Corinthos to her subtle conflicts with Nina Reeves, and the close-knit ties within the Corinthos and Spencer families. Laura Wright's temporary departure from the role comes at a time when Port Charles is facing a wave of new changes, immediately raising the stakes for the entire storyline. This absence could send the plot in a completely different direction, potentially pushing other characters into uncontrollable situations. Fans seem taken aback by the shock as they witness Carly at the forefront of a web of overlapping conflicts with Nina, Ava, Michael, and even Natalia, a Cold War of sorts between former loved ones, friends, and even temporary allies. Laura Wright has not revealed many details about the reasons for leaving or the specifics of her trip. However, she shared that this is a time she feels is necessary to step back, recharge, and return with a more creative energy, and most importantly, to find balance in her personal life after a long period of non-stop work. Her gentle and sincere words have only deepened fans' emotions, as they understand that behind Carly Spencer's tough exterior lies Laura Wright, a dedicated artist constantly facing the pressure of being in the spotlight. Because of this, her absence will not go unnoticed, it will certainly be felt on screen. Carly Spencer, with her impulsive nature but deep devotion to family, her unyielding strength in the face of adversity, will have to step back in the increasingly complex and dramatic world of Port Charles. The writers will certainly not allow this absence to be meaningless. Instead, they will likely use it as a catalyst for new developments, with old secrets being unearthed, enemies rising from the shadows, and those who once relied on Carly now forced to navigate a world without her as a support system. The big question now is, where will General Hospital go in Carly's absence, Laura Wright's absence? Who will temporarily take her place in the storylines? Will an old character return to fill the gap, or will a new character be introduced to change the power dynamics in Port Charles? Speculation is rampant on social media, from theories that Carly might be forced to leave town for safety reasons, to the possibility that she becomes involved in a conspiracy, forced into hiding, or even wrongfully arrested. Anything can happen in this unpredictable and dangerous world. However, amid the chaos and uncertainty, fans still hold on to one hope: Laura Wright will return. And when she does, Carly Spencer will not be the same, because that time away could be the perfect opportunity for the producers to refresh her character, even thrust her into a completely new spiral, where old wounds are explored more deeply, relationships are upended, and a stronger than ever Carly emerges from the challenges. Farewell is only temporary. But what Laura Wright leaves behind in the hearts of her fans is an irreplaceable Carly Spencer, a symbol of resilience, loyalty, and the desire to live authentically in a constantly changing world. And paradoxically, her absence further cements her unassailable place in the hearts of millions of General Hospital viewers. Having been connected to the role of Carly Spencer on General Hospital for nearly 2 decades, Laura Wright now faces a very sensitive phase in her life, not only as a veteran actress but also as a woman entering the more challenging years of aging. While the spotlight still shines, and the cameras are always waiting for Carly's familiar explosive moments, inside, Laura Wright is going through an inner crisis that is hard to name. The physical exhaustion and mental pressure from the heavy role are becoming more and more apparent, prompting her to ask deep questions about her limits and her ability to maintain the image that the audience has always expected. With Carly Spencer's character, someone who is always bursting with emotion, ready to engage in fiery confrontations. Facing situations that demand strength and unyielding endurance, the role demands not only acting ability but also a relentless physical and mental commitment. But time doesn't spare anyone. Not even the most seasoned. And Laura, with her usual honesty and clarity, is beginning to realize that her body no longer responds the way it once did. Every scene with physical confrontations, explosive anger, and tense showdowns is no longer just a challenge of acting technique, but a real battle with her own biological limits. Moreover, what further exhausts Laura Wright is the very storyline she has been caught up in. She has always been passionate about Carly's character, injecting life, depth, and personality into it to the point where the audience can't imagine her playing anyone else. But after many years, as the loops in the script become more apparent, as Carly continuously falls into the same dramatic situations, with events following familiar patterns, Laura begins to feel trapped in an unending cycle. She no longer finds excitement in portraying a Carly who is always fighting, reacting, shouting, and confronting. Mental fatigue is slowly replacing the passion she once had. In recent comments, Laura hasn't hidden her inner struggles, though she hasn't said it outright. Fans are sensitive enough to understand that the actress is quietly wrestling with a sense of detachment from the role that once marked the peak of her career. As the changes in the script push Carly into unrealistic situations, with dramatic moments that feel somewhat nonsensical and lacking in depth, Laura seems to have lost the emotional connection she once had with the role. For an artist who always places authenticity and emotion at the center, having to maintain an image simply for the sake of TV sensationalism has become more exhausting than fulfilling. All of this is leading Laura Wright to a turning point. Will she continue trying to hold on to the image of Carly, the strong, resilient woman who never backs down from any storm, or will she step back, perhaps handing the character off to a new direction? Whether that be a new version of Carly or a completely fresh replacement, the answer is still uncertain, but one thing is for sure. Laura Wright is a symbol, not only of General Hospital but also of artistic loyalty and the relentless fight in the harsh world of daytime television. And if she truly chooses to leave, it will not be an ending but a proud farewell, where a woman refuses to be defeated by any role, even if it is the biggest role of her life. Laura Wright, who plays Carly Spencer on General Hospital, is currently at the center of powerful undercurrents behind the scenes. For years, she has been the cornerstone of the show, bringing to life a Carly who is fierce, deep, wounded, yet relentlessly fighting. However, the current situation paints a very different picture. Laura no longer feels the same passion for the work that once fueled her. Behind this disconnect lies a series of reasons that have been quietly eroding her bond with General Hospital, from controversial decisions by the producers to shifts in the creative rhythm that once made GH so special. The source of her discontent seems not only to come from Carly's role reaching its saturation point but also from internal events that have made the working atmosphere heavier than ever. The sudden firing of several veteran actors, faces who had been closely connected with Laura both on and off screen, has left a void that cannot be filled in the actress's heart. As colleagues who once shared every moment behind the scenes depart one by one, Laura has begun to feel increasingly isolated in a team that changes daily. To her, the removal of seasoned, unique actors who were beloved by fans is not just an ill-considered strategy, but a betrayal of the core values that the show once upheld. This has sparked a lingering concern, not just for Laura but for all those who have been with GH from the beginning. It's the fear that General Hospital is losing its soul, becoming a shallow version of itself, chasing exaggerated storylines with no emotional depth. And in this mindset, Laura Wright has slowly started to feel that her role is no longer valued as it once was. The stories she's been given, the situations Carly is placed in, are drifting further from the essence she spent over a decade building. The mounting exhaustion from trying to maintain the image, but no longer being allowed to contribute, has led her to question whether she still belongs there. The suffocating feeling is becoming more and more evident. Laura is no longer silent. Conversations behind the scenes have started to include dissenting opinions. She has begun speaking out about the creative burnout in Carly's storylines, the swift replacements of veteran characters, and the frustration of seeing close friends and co-stars being let go without due respect. From this dissatisfaction, a form of soft resistance has emerged, not a public refusal, but a cold, distinct distance between Laura Wright and the creative machinery of General Hospital. She still works professionally, still completes her scenes. But the passion that once brought every frame to life is now being replaced with reluctance. Fans have begun to notice the change in Carly's eyes, no longer the fiery intensity of resistance, but an emptiness, a fatigue that reflects not just the character but also the actress inhabiting her. Laura Wright was once the heart of General Hospital, and for many, she still represents the soul of a golden era. But with the instability surrounding her both on and off screen, the biggest question now is, does she still want to fight for a world she no longer feels a part of? Will Carly Spencer continue to exist with the identity that once made her iconic? Or will she vanish in a chaotic time where even familiar faces are becoming distant? Regardless of the answer, one thing is undeniable: a storm is quietly forming, not just in the storyline, but behind the scenes as well. And if Laura Wright truly steps away from the spotlight, it will not just be a departure, but a wake-up call about how, when art is not cherished, it can lose even its most beautiful souls. The death of Carly Spencer is no longer a mere hypothesis, it's a brutal reality that is slowly spreading throughout Port Charles, and with it, a wave of paralysis both emotionally and structurally throughout the fragile power dynamics of the city. Carly, the woman once seen as the central link between the main characters, the iron heart of conflicts, the unquenchable flame amidst frozen hatred, has now fallen. And this departure is not just the loss of a character, but the beginning of a seismic shift that will shatter whatever remains of stability in the ever-explosive world of General Hospital. No one expected Carly to leave at this moment, when tensions between Brennan and Sonny have reached their peak, when relationships within the Corinthos, Spencer, and Quartermain families are stretched to breaking point. Carly's departure is like the removal of the final safety pin, pushing everything into a chain reaction that cannot be controlled. She didn't die from illness or a random accident. Carly's death is the consequence of plots woven with hatred, manipulation, and brutal political calculations. And that makes the loss even more painful, not just the grief, but the insult, a declaration of war against anyone who thought they were safe under Carly Spencer's shadow. Brennan, the mastermind behind this dark plot, thought he had won when he eliminated the only woman who could interfere with his plan to fully control Sonny. In his eyes, Carly was a threat because she couldn't be easily controlled, bought, or intimidated by shady forces. By removing Carly, Brennan thought he could break Sonny, make him more malleable, weaker. But he misjudged Sonny's nature. For after losing Carly, Sonny didn't become weak, he became a completely different man, darker, fiercer, and no longer in control of the rage burning inside him. Sonny lost his way, but he did not fall. He became more dangerous than ever before, because no one could hold him back on the edge of right and wrong. Carly had been Sonny's anchor. The fragile boundary between punishment and forgiveness, between revenge and redemption. When she was gone, all the moral values Sonny had tried to maintain vanished along with her. In his eyes now, there's no more inner conflict, only anger, cold determination, and the desire to destroy everything that took Carly away from him. And it is in this rage that Sonny turns back to Port Charles, once his home, where Carly had stood by him through every storm, now transformed into a bloody battleground. Every familiar face is now a potential enemy. Every alliance, every friendship, every relationship could be the instrument that indirectly led to the death of the woman he loved most. Madness is slowly taking over Sonny's mind, and no one dares to predict what he will do next. But one thing is clear, Sonny will not stop until someone pays with blood. Michael, Carly's son, is torn between the pain of losing his mother and the escalating wrath of his father. Jocelyn is shattered, unable to accept the reality that her strong, unyielding mother has been erased by ruthless hands. Jason, if he appears, will no longer be the mediator trying to keep the peace but could become the sword of vengeance in Carly's name. Nina, Once Carly's rival and later her lover's nemesis, will be swept into the inevitable whirlpool of hatred, because even if she doesn't strike, her presence in Sunny's life will always be a thorn in the side of those who seek to lash out. Port Charles, a place that once had a fragile balance between good and evil, now tips overwhelmingly toward one side, the side of darkness, loss, and actions no longer restrained by reason. Carly's death does not just take a character away. It sweeps away a whole set of values that had once shaped the very backdrop of General Hospital. Without Carly, all moral boundaries seem to have fallen. Those who once remained silent now rise. Forces that once lay dormant now act boldly. And those who were protected by Carly's power, influence, and loyalty must now learn how to survive without her as their shield. Worse still, there is the feeling of irreplaceability. Carly was unlike anyone who ever existed in the GH world. Not because she was perfect, but because she never pretended to be. She fought, she made mistakes. She rebelled, she loved fiercely, she forgave through tears, and she stood up after every pain. And now, when someone like that falls, those who remain are not just left with a void, they are left to face the true faces of themselves in a world where no one is leading them anymore. Port Charles will never be the same again. And that is the painful, naked, and irreversible truth. Written in the death of Carly Spencer, the woman who entered every battle with steady hands and now lies down for the world to tremble at what is to come. Laura Wright's return to General Hospital after a period of absence was already enough to excite fans and leave them eagerly awaiting what's next. However, when news leaked that she would reunite with Wes Ramsey, the actor who portrayed Peter August, Port Charles was immediately thrown into a state of unprecedented panic. Because if this is true, it's not just the return of two veteran actors, but a storm that is about to sweep through everything, with death, betrayal, and the ghosts of the past rising stronger than ever. Peter August, a name that Port Charles had thought was buried forever, is coming back. And unlike the last time when he was removed from the game, this time, he returns with a clearer goal. More bloodthirsty, and smarter than ever. Wes Ramsey's return as Peter sends a clear message: what everyone thought was over is only just beginning. Peter didn't die. He was merely waiting for the right moment to unleash a devastating revenge. Laura Wright, returning as Carly Spencer, is no longer the woman who was once broken and retreated into conservatism. This time, Carly returns as a symbol awakened, a survivor from the dead, both literally and emotionally. After all she has been through, Carly no longer believes in the things she once thought were safe. And when she reappears alongside Peter, a character she once hated and wanted to destroy, the people of Port Charles are forced to ask a big question: what has changed? Why is Carly working with someone like Peter? And most importantly, what are they hiding? Confusion spreads. Former allies of Carly now look at her with suspicion. Sunny, who once loved her, begins to feel an unfamiliar distance. Michael, Jocelyn, Jason, they're all pushed into a state of urgency as they face the possibility that the woman they once trusted the most is now hiding a secret so big it could shatter the last remaining order in Port Charles. Meanwhile, Peter, with his cold mind and patience sharpened by months of being hunted and hiding, begins to implement a new attack plan. Mysterious deaths start to appear. At first, it's small names: a security guard, a nurse, an informant. But each death leaves a clear sign: it's not random, it's been orchestrated. And all the trails lead to one name: Peter August. The Port Charles community is shaken. Those who thought they had escaped Peter's shadow now face their deepest fear. He never disappeared, and now he's not just back, he's ready to win. The pairing of Laura Wright and Wes Ramsey in this return feels like a new nightmare duo. Carly, with her unspoken wounds and truths no one knows, could be playing a dangerous game she cannot win. Or maybe she's a pawn being manipulated by Peter, or worse, maybe she has chosen to side with him, for a reason that only time will reveal. Whatever the truth is, one thing is undeniable. Port Charles is about to enter a darker era than anything it has ever experienced. And if Carly truly has returned with Peter, then no one, not even Sunny, Jason, or Anna, will be able to stop the flood of darkness that is about to engulf everything. The question is no longer, who will survive, but rather, who will betray who first? And which death will break the last wall of Port Charles? General Hospital has never faced a nightmare like this. And when Laura Wright and Wes Ramsey share the screen again, all limits will be broken, all old wounds torn open, and the worst horrors are just beginning.